Hello everyone, welcome back to a new build order guide slash Harstem or whatever I'll call this. We're gonna be having a look at PvP today, and specifically a blink opener, and how I like to transition from blink openers into a mid-game push with disruptors, and going into a longer game disruptor stalker based from there on out. So I have 3 games prepared, and then I also want to show you this game against the AI. Just to show you guys the build order. It's a pretty standard build order. It's a 2-gate opener that opens with Stalker into Sentry Nexus. So we get 2 gases. We get of course the standard 16 gate, 17 assimilator, 18 assimilator, and then we rally our next probe towards the ramp to build our second gateway. After second gateway, we scout, and we try to always keep 16 workers on minerals. Now that's not always going to work. There's actually one point where we stay 15 workers on minerals, and that's right now. As we rally to build our cyber core, go in the gas here, then we start rallying towards our minerals again, complete the 16 on minerals basically. Second pylon, and we start rallying into our own gas. So we have 2 gates, a cyber core, a pylon. Oh, this one should be in the gas. Slight error. We're scouting with our probe. I'm not even sure what race my opponent is, as he's an AI, but he should be Protoss. There we go, beautiful. I love it when things work out for me. Now we scout whatever the heck it is he's doing. We're scouting if there's a second pylon or not. I'll go more in depth after this. We open with Stalker, Warp Gate. We rally our, well, what is it? Our 24th probe downstairs. We build a pylon with it, and then we get 1 more probe. Okay, so we're gonna go to 29 out of 31. Try to not lose this probe on the other side of the map. Stalker into Sentry. And actually something we can do is, after we get our second sentries, we can get our Nexus. 1 more sentry. I like to rally them into my main base in case of a double adept opener by my opponent. It's nice to have them in the main so they don't die. Now, 33 we build our Nexus, 33 we build our battery, and then we throw a chrono boost onto our warp gate. We patrol our probe over here. In case our opponent sends in adepts, we can always wall here temporarily with a shield battery. We get a 3rd pylon over here. Sorry, excuse me, a 4th pylon over here. And we're just continuing probe production. Once we have 20 probes on minerals in the main base, we can start rallying downstairs. And once our hallucination is available, we will use it. We get a Twilight Council once we can afford that. And we send in the hallucination. Now, before our hallucination arrives, we're not gonna build a forge, even though we would love to. We're just not gonna do that. It's risky, it's dangerous. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work 2 stalkers into our main base, and we're gonna transfer our workers down. We're not, you see, we're saving chrono boost. We're not using it on anything. So we scout. Now, we assume he's playing macro. We get a forge, chrono boost our Nexi, and get blink started as well. Now, in case he has an oracle, we keep these in the base. I go more in depth in these scenarios and when we scout, stuff like that, in the next few games. And we're just going to continue probe production, take a 3rd gas, add 2 extra gateways, and then go into a 3rd base. Really, it's a relatively simple build order actually. I like to get a robo here as well in case of ETs. Should still be in time. We can chrono boost our +1 upgrade. Can also chrono boost your blink, whatever you feel like. You see how I'm not building any units. I'm investing all my money in infrastructure right now. And I won't start building any more units until I get my 3rd base. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that rule, and I will go over that in the next few games. 3rd base starts. You get a pylon there as well. Make sure to always be building workers, no matter what you do. Continuously be scouting with hallucinations. Making sure you know what tech your opponent has, make sure how many units your opponent has. Now, after we build our third base, we can start warping in units from our gateways. I like doing that at least. And we're just gonna check if our opponent's also getting a third base. Pompidom.
Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
I like to chrono boost my forge a couple of times. You don't have to do it this many times, but it's nice. Always get a battery at your third base. It's very cheap and it can win you many games that would be difficult to win otherwise. You have an observer. I like getting a second observer. Gives us a little bit of extra information.
Have engaged the enemy.
We're just continuously sending out these hallucinations, just trying to figure out what our opponent is doing. More stalkers. You're dead. And then once our third base finishes, we can add 2 extra gateways. Make sure that your upgrades keep going. Make sure that your probe production keeps going. That always has priority over adding these extra gateways. Okay? We can get charge going as well, and we can add 2 extra simulators. Once we have about 14 to 16 workers on this base, I like getting that as simulator. Or yeah, I like getting these as simulators. Now, if the game progresses as normal, this is a perfect time to add a robo bay and a second robotics facility. Start adding a couple of cannons in your bases, and from here on out, a bit depending on how the game goes, you can start a prism, or you can just add a couple of zealots to this army, and you start looking towards a fort base. That's after the cannons. You want cannons before the fort base. Important to remember. Now, my opponent is an idiot. Or, well, he's an easy AI. It's not really a person, but still an idiot. And yeah, once you have your fort base, from here on out, continue building disruptors and basically play Stalker Disruptor from here. In the next 3 replays, I'm gonna go more in depth exactly on what you're supposed to do in what scenarios, so be sure to stick around for that. Alright, I just want to go over some scenarios in PvP with this build order. Now, I'm gonna try to play it a little bit slow. I know it's difficult for me. I tend to spam a little bit. Playing against Guitar King, who I believe is a low masters player, or mid masters, I don't know what he wants to call himself. Low masters, mid GM, you know those guys. The classic, low plat but grandmaster knowledge. Now, Guitar King, yeah, it's a Guitar Slayer. Guitar King is a pretty decent pros player from my Discord. So yeah, you guys should already know the build order by now, or at least be aware of how it works, but I'm still gonna talk you through it obviously, and we're gonna look at some of the scouting timings, we're gonna look at some of the transitions and some of the things we wanna be playing against, or we wanna, you know, the things we wanna do when we see what we're playing against. Open up with a double gas. You can do a fair amount of rallying in this build, as you can see. I always like rallying things. Makes the build feel smooth. So I keep 16 on minerals for now. I rally another probe into my gas. Then once my second gas finishes, I go to 15 minerals temporarily, and this probe gets rallied towards my cybercore location. And I go into that second gas with it. Then I go back to get 16 probes on minerals. So just like that, second pylon gets built. I rally into my gases to fill them up properly. I'm gonna see what I can find out with my probe. Hopefully at least a little bit. Now, double gate, cybercore, second pylon. We can count gas, not necessary. This build is relatively safe, but you can see we have similar counts of gas, which means he hasn't been mining too much gas. Now, I start Stalker. Ooh. And I send a probe down. Probe down is for my third pylon. He should be doing the same thing. We see only a single unit is being built here. That makes absolutely no sense. Probably been smoking again. Good old Guitar King. I'm not sure why he's forgetting a second unit. That actually makes no sense. But we see no extra tech. Then we leave before his units come out. And we follow it up with Sentry. His timing was a little bit off. He loses the probe. Now, we're at 33 First game of the day, nice excuse. At 33 supply out of 39, we get a Nexus, we get a battery, and we continue our worker production. Okay? At the same time, we throw one chrono boost on that warp gate, like I mentioned before. And once these first two sentries are out, we build another sentry. Now, I would suggest building a pylon at this point and keeping your probe on patrol here in case of adepts. Also, I like to keep my sentries on the high ground in case of adepts, so you can't lose them. Usually until my battery finishes up. I continue my worker production and I can build a Twilight Council right now. Once we have 20 workers in the main base, we can start rallying down because we're already kind of oversaturated in the main at this point. Now, you see my two gateways finish. I can get a hallucination. I scout across the map, try to figure out what's going on. And I warp in 2 Stalkers in my main base. This is in case of a Stargate. In case of an Oracle, I'd like to have my Stalkers there. Now, it's very tempting to already start chrono boosting workers at this point, because you know you want your workers. Also tempting to start a forge, because I mean I have the money, but no, we first want to scout with our hallucination what's happening. We see a Twilight Council that is slightly too fast. We see a forge that's slightly unsafe as well. So he's actually mirroring my build order. Now we see this playing macro. We throw 2 chrono boosts on those probes, and at this point, very common, especially at lower levels, to warp in a lot of units. You see he warps in 2 extra Stalkers already, but oh, and actually he has the same amount of Stalkers as me, never mind. He played extremely greedy, not a prick. No, what we're gonna do here is we need to play it safe and get more buildings. It's better than building more units. You only build units when you're unsure what's happening. So if I wouldn't see a forge here, I probably would be building slightly more units, but I do see a forge. I scout another gateway. We continue scouting, get a 3rd gas, and after those 4 gateways and that robotics facility, we can actually just get a 3rd base. We can do that. Now, this is only the case if we see a forge. If we don't see a forge, we don't actually care about getting a 3rd base, because we're getting ahead in another thing, upgrades. So in that case, we would just probably continue taking gases. Now, once we have the 3rd base going, I do want to start warping in units. We already have our infrastructure. We have our base going down. I get an observer. I continue scouting. You see that? Every single time I continue scouting. Probe production never stops either. I can chrono boost on my forge. He only has 3 gateways. I think he might be going for a little move out here, as we don't see his Stalkers at home anymore at this point. Only sentries, because I'm a little bit afraid of that. Just throw 1 chrono boost on my blink. I remember that he did have faster blink than me. If he tries to attack me, he's probably just gonna lose, because he has no proper way to reinforce. Okay, there's a chance that he's gonna blink in here. No, he has way too little units. Yeah, he cannot fight this. So he loses 1 unit. I can blink 1 more time, obviously, because he blinked slower than me. Oh, I should have gotten that. I was a little bit not on cooldown there. Now, right now we have 2 options. We have the option, first of all, we need to add 2 extra gateways. And I like adding a battery here. Even though I'm very far ahead at this point, because I have better probe production than my opponent, I still get a battery because it just adds so much safety. If you just get caught slightly out of position, or he's all-inning you and you didn't realize, having that battery is very helpful. Now, once we have 16, 17 guys on minerals in the main base, we take gas 5 and 6. We can get a couple of extra warp-ins, depending on what we believe our opponent is doing. Well, we see a Dark Shrine here. This could have been proxied. I like to get cannons at this point anyway. Well, there's some terrible positioned cannons, but it's okay. And then once I take these gases, like I said, we really just have 2 choices. We can either go into Disruptor Blink, which is what I want to show you guys today, or you can add 2 extra gateways and take a 4th base. You can even do that off of 3 gas. But with this, you maybe want to wait slightly longer until you get a 4th base. At least until after 5 gas. So we'll get the 5th base now. Now, do note that I could just be attacking him and winning this game, because I just have been having better macro, basically. So if I really wanted to do a dedicated attack here, I could kill him, but that would be absolutely no fun. Now, what I like to do is I like to put observers in smart locations around the map. And observers are going to be my main way of figuring out where he is, in combination with pylons on the sides and perhaps a stalker positioned here and there on the map. Oh, I thought that was a... Okay, he also has an observer that he just lost. Always keep an observer with your army just for that. Now, get a couple of cannons per base. Now we see he has a DT here. The observer doing work. Now this of course isn't really planned. Like you can't plan for this type of stuff. Oh my god, I'm an idiot.
Upgrade complete.
I can still see it. The trained eye can do a lot. Yeah, this wasn't the most brilliant episode that I've had in my life. Then, once we get... Yeah, I don't think so, buddy. Once we get our first two disruptors out, or our first disruptors out, I always like to make a small move out across the map. Add a couple of gateways here. You start floating some money. And this is just a beautiful composition here, where you can very easily start trading with your opponent, especially if he doesn't quite have disruptors yet. And we're going to be playing around our opponent's fort base. Okay, see, here he has a fort base. He has a couple of disruptors. Now there's a cool trick you can do if you're playing against disruptors and you're the aggressor. And I'll show that to you guys right now. So what you can do is you can run in and hopefully snipe a disruptor. So like this. And then you just blink out. And if he blinks like that, you're supposed to have a bullet ready for him, basically. I think he might just lose this one. Yeah. I like to have them on different control groups. So I have one group on control group 1. I have my disruptors on control group 3. Oh, that's cute. Uh-oh. Keep darking. Wait, he's sending a massive run by to this base as well. I think this might be DTs by the looks of things. No, we're not playing too fast, but here we go. And maybe. Yikes, that was okay. That was not it. I have to admit that just was not it, my friends. But it's okay. Just make sure you're aware of where all of his units are going. That way you can prepare for flanks and all that good jazz. If they blink behind you, you can of course always go for force fields and stuff like that. And you see, I win right now. Slightly better macro, a lot better micro. He's probably a little bit nervous as well. Fair play, you know. So yeah, this is kind of my main plan. It's just, I want to start trading with these disruptors. Now the next step is going to be, once you get your 7 gas or so, you can add a couple of stargates. And at high level, we go into Tempest. But honestly, I think if you're not rank 50 GM, I think carrier is just going to be fine. Uh-oh. Remember when I said always keep an observer with your army? Yeah, you should always do that. You can even get observer speed, as you can see I'm doing that as well. Get your 5th base, couple of cannons. I like getting cannons. You can get your own Dark Shrine for 2 reasons. A, for harassment. Also to stop your opponent's harassment. It's a very solid tool to stop DTs. Your own DTs. It's a bit like Mewtwo in Pokemon. So yeah, this is a pretty, in my opinion, pretty easy. Say easy, but a pretty straightforward win. Never shoot 2 bullets like that at once. Especially if you're down in disruptor count. What you want to be doing is you want to be shooting them very carefully, one by one, to kind of zone out my armor. Get a DG in this game. Let's hop straight into the next one against Mr. Guitar King. Alright. Here we go again. This time on a slightly different map. And I asked him to play Oracle, so I can show you guys a response against Oracle. He didn't respond to it yet, so I'll ask it again. Now this is beautiful. Of course, if the next time you want it to be you, be sure to go to my Discord. It should be in the YouTube description. Proxy. Yeah, sure. Why not? Response against proxy Oracle is slightly different than against regular Oracle, but it's good to know how to beat proxy Oracle as well. So here we go once again. Same setup every single time. This is a very straightforward build where you can basically you can open this every single game. This is what people have been doing. They either open like this, or they open Stalker Sentry, or they open Adept into Sentry. So there really is a fair amount of options, I would say, to deviate from this, but keep the similar. The framework remains the same. You just have slightly different starting units. But the ideas behind it, the triple sentry for hallucination, the quick force, the quick twilight, etc. etc. Kind of messed this up, the worker rallying, but it's okay. It's not that big of a deal if you mess up some of the worker rallying, but try to always keep a healthy count on your minerals, alright? It's going to be the main thing here. Now we see a lack of a second pylon. This indicates to us that there is a proxy pylon on the map somewhere. Now there's two things we can do. We can straight away go look for that pylon, or we can first check what the timing is on his first two units. Now we see his first two units are starting very slowly, and he hasn't started Warp Gate yet. This usually indicates Stargate, but you never want to make blind reads on this, so we're not going to do that here. We use two probes, the one that built the low ground pylon and the one that was scouting his, to go look for proxies. We can continue getting one more probe, as we should, and then I can rally that down, of course. And two more sentries. And then we have ourselves a similar setup. Gonna move the Warp Gate. I want to scout around with my Stalkers a little bit as well. Now I wouldn't be surprised if he just has it proxied over here, but of course you don't want to hard counter your good friend like that. Oh, here we go. Now we scout it. Even if I hadn't scouted, I think at some point I kind of want to get a battery in the main base. And we can attack this, but we probably shouldn't. So we're gonna just move away for now. I do want to check later with my probe if it's only going to be one oracle or if there's going to be a second oracle. So that's something that we gotta keep in mind. Forgot my fourth pylon here temporarily, but it's okay. Just gonna go back for now. I think he might have opened here with what you call it? Yeah, he's gonna build a stasis ward, or at least he should have built a stasis ward. That's a mistake by him. We see no second oracle. And our battery did its work. Now, if he would build a second oracle, we would, after these units, we would warp in two more stalkers, okay? That's really just the difference, but because it's only a single oracle, we're gonna check just to be sure. Yes, really just a single oracle. We're absolutely fine with these units. Now maybe I want to get one more unit here at the ramp, so an oracle can just fly in and snipe that dude. That's it, basically. Now, he just wasted a lot of money into a Stargate. You can see he's getting 3 gate. What is this? Keep tarking, you crazy man. We're actually later than he is with our Twilight, but we're gonna have slightly better eco, and we're gonna have way better scouting than him. So he invested in an oracle, and it didn't really pay off in a straight up way, but that's fine because he kept it alive. Like, these are just different openers. They're not, it's not like I'm very far ahead right now. His eco is probably gonna be okay-ish. His early game is a little less safe, and he's gonna just have a harder time scouting for now. So, get a robotics facility, get my +1 upgrade. I see he has a forge, he's going up to 3 gate. All that good jazz, all that good jazz. He forgot his +1 actually here. So it's gonna be nice for me. I'll have a slightly faster +1 than him, like 10 seconds. once again, not the biggest of deals. Now, he most likely is gonna have a stasis ward at the third base. That sounds like a move that he could pull to me. Too predictable. So yeah, make sure that you detonate it outside of where you want to build your nexus. Always do that. But yeah, it's... Oh man, I've been playing this game for too long, my friend. Just having one Stalker in the main is fine, because I know it's single Oracle, by the way. I do want to get... You could say, hey, why don't you just skip your Robo now? But it's not too uncommon to play DT after... play DT after Oracle. It's actually extremely common at the moment, at least at high level. Oh, this is nice. I wasn't paying attention there, so... So yeah, you see I'm on 4 gate, continuously just warping in. I'm scouting. He has a difficult time exactly figuring out what I'm doing. So if we're just gonna go into a standard macro game, I'm not even gonna be that far ahead, even though I stopped this proxy perfectly. But don't forget, he basically paid in safety in the early game, and he's paying in safety now. So if I would be attacking him with like a 6 gate, where I cut a bunch of my workers, he probably would be in a little bit of trouble, because he just isn't quite sure what is happening. Kinda wanna kill this pylon at least.
Upgrade complete.
Don't do this. Kinda wanted to tell him to stop doing weird things, but he is helping me out, so I don't want to be a prick. Wait, where the heck did these probes come from? He's gonna go for a move out, it seems like. Remember when I told you guys about that battery that I find so important? Yeah, I forgot about it this game. You see, he's moving out. And he's still getting a battery at home. That's very funny and extremely uncommon. So I'm just gonna try to get some vision around the map. I can use hallucinations for that. No. That wasn't too hot for him. I like to get my cannons. We see he's taking gases way after I did. My gases are done already. I'm gonna be upping gas by a little bit. Once again, looking like a pretty good game for me. And once again, we're going into a similar setup. Now, I want to show you another little trick that you can use. So remember last game when I did that attack on his fort base, which is once again what we're kind of aiming for. And you have many variations on this attack. He's actually coming from here. This is very risky what he's doing, because he has an inferior Stalker count and he's moving out with them. Which means if he gets caught slightly out of position once, he could be in for, well, just for a lot of trouble. Now, the little variation that I'm talking about, okay? So we're gonna keep this observer close to his base in case he wants to defend with DTs when I drop. But basically, we're gonna do exactly the same thing. But this time, we have basically a multi-prong going on. And whenever people think of multitasking, they think of things that are very difficult to do. Multitasking is relatively simple, especially if you're the one doing the multitasking. Defending the multitask is the truly difficult part. There you need to be a little bit better at. So we see he has DTs, and we just got our first 2 Disruptors, and I want to start moving out across the map. Of course, if our opponent is all-inning us off of 3 gas, okay, this is really risky by him. I don't like this play, but I mean, he's behind, so maybe it's not too bad. The risk reward here is really skewed in my favor. So we have this attack. Okay, he wasn't paying attention. So he tries to defend with Dark Templar, but I have an observer there, because I'm light years ahead of my opponents mentally. And then we do the same push that we did before. I like that he only recalled part of his army. That was a really dumb blink. That's okay. I don't think it's gonna matter too much. Oh, he actually has a There's a DT here. But yeah, basically this is the same exact push, but with a slight variation. And there's very many variations you can do. It can be just zealots if you want. You don't need to have DTs with your push. I like to have them. Once again, you get slightly out microed as well. Yeah, this game is looking pretty rough for our friend here. Ooh. GG. And once again, very similar setup. We just kind of win the game. Let's go into the final game that we're gonna play, most likely. And I'll see you guys there. Alright. This time we're gonna be facing a Robo All-In. Thank you, Guitar King. But yeah, do listen to him. Subscribe and like. We're gonna just open up the same way as we've been doing every single game so far. And then I want to show you guys how to properly figure out what your opponent is doing and then how to react. Because a lot of the time people scout an all-in, and what they do is they start investing in infrastructure, like their life depends on it. It's like, oh, he's all-inning me with 3 gates. I'll need 3 gates as well. It's not quite how StarCraft works. So I'll try to show you guys how I believe it works. Of course, we can disagree about that. If you do disagree with how I defend things, then be sure to leave your comment and your rank in the, or your, leave that in the comments down below. Your rank and what you think I did wrong. And we can always have a discussion based on merits and a little bit of authority as well. Those are the greatest. Second chrono on my Nexus. Once again, I rally to get it. Oh, this is great. I love this. Whoop. Get that Cybercore going. And from here on out, we're looking at that second pylon already. Yeah. Now, usually with the probe, you're not gonna get any info, right? That's just not the case. Most people hide things until you scout it with your sentry, with your hallucination. That's really when your first reactions. And that's also why I told you guys, delay that forge until with the sentry or with that hallucination you see, hey, what is happening here? And then you can start responding to things. Not before, because it is unsafe. You can't really add a forge before that. Unless you really know what you're doing. But let's be real, none of us really know what we're doing. That's why we picked Protoss. He chrono boost the warp gate. This is not quite how it's supposed to be, but it's okay. He's just showing a little bit too much in my opinion. So I'm gonna get Stalker into Sentry. Actually tries to wall this. To spot my first 2 units. It's a very common move. 33, we get a battery. Now we can scout around close by for proxy pylons. You don't want to go too far away actually, because if you get caught out and he plays something like Stalker into Adept or 4 Stalker, you might actually be in a little bit of trouble. So try to be careful of that. Do need to have this one moving over here. I think I forgot my chrono on that. I also forgot that I needed to start my sentry before I started my Twilight. I also forgot my extra pylon. Yikes. It is a bit of a sloppy game. We see my hallucination is about to be ready. So
Research complete.
yeah, once our hallucination finishes, that would be nice. Now, remember, always warp in your first 2 Stalkers in the main base. And from there on out, we can always go into something else. Now, we're gonna scout exactly what our good friend here is doing. 3rd gateway, Robo. We see no workers in production, no animation. You see, this is the animation. He doesn't have that. And there's no workers here now. Our response is going to be add a couple of extra Stalkers immediately. So use your gateways as you can and add batteries, sorry, not Stalkers. Add batteries, gateways. Make sure that he can't just drop into your main base. And then we can actually start our blink as well. And our main priority is going to be on not getting supply blocked, adding batteries and adding gateway units, okay? So here we go. We can add another gateway unit. I cancel a probe, I can add another gateway unit, and I continue my probe production again. I'm afraid of him dropping into my main base with something. I also want to make sure that he's not just tricking me, so I'm just gonna figure out with this hallucination exactly what it is he's doing. So I see him move out, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'll add another one of these. I can build another Stalker. I can build another Stalker if I want to. Uh-oh. Yikes. A little bit sloppy by him, but it's okay. We can add, whenever you're floating money, you can always just add a gateway. You can add another battery if you want. Try to at least every now and then increase your probe count. I can use super battery if I need to. I don't think I need to, but I can just do it, it's fun. And then just with continuous unit production, you're still kind of outproducing your opponent. Or not outproducing, but having such good production that with the help of 1 or 2 batteries, or in this case 5 batteries, you're going to be able to very easily hold this. Now, I'm pretty sure I held it at this point. Get myself a robo. I'm on 4 gates, I get myself a forge. And we basically have the same setup as we always have. I should actually be expanding at this point. I know, he's actually pretty dead. I mean, even if he wasn't still here, he would still be pretty dead. Simply because I have way more workers than him at this point. I can show you guys that. Now you can build a nexus at this point. You can do that because you have 4 batteries here. But you're not quite sure if you actually need to defend it, right? So this is a non-committed nexus, in a way. We're basically getting a double lead at this point. We have an eco lead and we're getting an upgrade lead, but I see my eco lead is so big that I don't even want to try to think about defending that base, even if I can. He's so all in at this point that all I need to do is not die. That should be extremely easy as well. So yeah, this is kind of how you defend everything from pre-gates to robo all-ins like this. And yeah, that's just it. You can leave now, Guitar King. It's okay. Did you? Yeah. Alright. Well, thanks so much, Guitar King, for helping me out here. Thumbs up to you, buddy. That's gonna be it for me for today. If you did enjoy this, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you didn't enjoy this, there's more videos here that might be better. And I hope to see you all next time for a new episode of a build order guide, Harstem malware, IOTIS, or whatever the heck it is that you want to watch on my channel. Thanks so much, and bye-bye.